why I drug that out so long. I really don't. I tried to film this 3 times now. Say hi.
Hi. We got shells from the beach.
Yeah, I took you guys with me to the beach. And it's so windy today. I couldn't really film. And I'll show you guys what it looked like. Well, I wanted to film this outside, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. It's I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah. That's where I'm at, but the wind's so big. But I couldn't film, so I'm doing this at home. I thought it would be cool to take you guys with me to the beach, you know. I'm gonna talk about New Zealand homeschooling, as you can tell from the title if you clicked on this. This is about homeschool laws in New Zealand and what you need to know. Well, what you need to know is it's really freaking windy and you can't film out near the beach. Ah! Anyways, this is a collaborative is probably a better word. Collaborative effort, my children are certain, sorry, between me and 3 other channels. We're gonna have a playlist for everybody. Kind of excited about that. And you guys can check out the laws in different areas in case you're curious, because homeschool laws are not the same around the world. Like, little FYI, for those that love to homeschool and are thinking of moving to places like Germany or, I'm trying to think of another country where it's illegal to homeschool in Germany, FYI. And there's several other countries that are like that. So please check out a country's laws before you plan on visiting, especially for extended periods, because in certain countries you would then become their problem or their, and you fall under their laws after like, I think like it's like 3 weeks. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about homeschool laws in New Zealand and who I'm collaborating with. Okay, so the 3 other channels in this collab are Jennifer from My Perfectly Imperfect Mom Life. She homeschools, US. Amy Carney from Crazy Carneys. She homeschools in the UK. And Lani, who's from Lani on Life, and she homeschools in the US as well. And here's a little tidbit about the US. Each state is different. Each state has its own rules. So if you're going to move to the US or visit the US, check out the state you're going to be in before you decide to homeschool or stay for an extended period, because again, you fall under their rules after a certain period. Well, expatting, that's not even it. Homeschooling as an expat is a little different in New Zealand. First of all, they call it home education here, not homeschool. Don't know why. It is what it is. Whatever. You have, all right, so yeah, I'm just gonna get in the thick of it because I don't know how to do good transitions. Okay, so homeschooling in New Zealand is interesting because homeschooling in New Zealand, unlike the US, is not a right to homeschool. You have to ask permission to homeschool. That's the first thing you need to know. Second thing you need to know if you're coming here, if you fall under the I need to ask permission rule. Because here's the deal. I thought I was gonna sneeze, sorry. Here's the deal. If you are coming here as an international student, and that depends on your visa, hey ho, if you're not a citizen here, your visa determines whether or not you're an international student. So if you're an international student, you don't need to worry about it. But these are rules for, and please check out education.govt.nz for more information if you're worried about whether or not you're an international student or considered a New Zealand student. So it depends on your visa and your resident status, whether or not you have to ask permission to homeschool here in New Zealand. Our visas are special because it could go either way, so I had to do some research to figure out if we were international students. But here's the general rules for homeschooling in New Zealand. First thing, numero uno, if your visa falls under the domestic student visa, or it's not even domestic student, because technically to be a domestic student you have to be a resident or a citizen. So if you're a resident or a citizen, you're a domestic student, you automatically have to apply. The other visas, you need to look it up for yourself because each one is different, and each one, the way it was filed, is different on whether or not you'll be an international student. But needless to say, if you're not considered an international student, you do have to send in paperwork to what's called the MOE, or Ministry of Education. Now, the Ministry of Education in your local area is where you need to send in your application. You can download the application from education.govt.nz. They have a whole link to it and everything. You download it and you can email it or mail it in. A lot of people prefer to email it because it's basically a giant freaking 30-page application. You're gonna fill out why you want to homeschool, how you want to homeschool, who you're homeschooling, why they need to homeschool, and then you have to go through each subject on the application and explain what you're going to use, what you're going to do for each subject. Like if it's math, you're going to be like, I'm going to use this curriculum. You have to basically check off all the boxes in the application process for the office to approve you. Now the office, from what I heard, each office is different in New Zealand. Some are like, okay, cool, that they're like, if you meet the minimum requirements on the application, you're good. Some want above and beyond. From what I've heard in the groups, they usually come back and ask for more information, so be prepared. There are people you can hire to help you fill out the application. I didn't do that. I hired someone to look it over and to tell me what I did wrong, which is always a good thing. But I didn't have somebody else fill it out. You have the option for that, and there are services for that, so you can make sure that you pass, but I didn't do that. It is compulsory school attendance in New Zealand, and that's where you have to fill out the application. And compulsory attendance counts from age 6 to age 16, so they don't need it if you want to pull them out to homeschool after 16, and they don't need it up until age 6. But it's good to start filling out when they're 5.5, so you can just get through the process. And if you've already enrolled them in school, I've heard that because some kindergartners do start at 5, I have heard that you do need to go ahead and fill out the application because you put them in school and the school's going to be asking for that. I don't know if this is true, but I have heard that. The school system here in New Zealand does require that you notify the school when you go to withdraw them. You need to notify the school, and you need to notify the MOE as soon as possible. If you need to take your kid out because of bullying or anxiety, you need to take them to their pediatrician and get a waiver, so that way you can have the waiver in effect, so that the child can stay home while you're waiting for your exemption to come back, because it takes between 2 days and 6 weeks. I've heard people get their exemption in 2 days. I've heard people say they got their exemption in 6 weeks. 6 weeks is the max that it takes for you to get one. If you want them to try out school and you're just coming on a visa and you're like, I'm not sure if I want them to do this yet, you can go ahead and get your exemption. Visas are a little bit special because you don't have to enroll them in school right away. You can apply for the exemption, get it, because you can't get the exemption before you get here. So if you're here on a visa, you can apply for the exemption as soon as you get here. It is what it is. You don't necessarily have to have them in public school right away. But say you want to try out the local school, I have been told, and I've read online on education.govt.nz, is to wait for your exemption and to they're allowed to go to school, I think it's up to 3 weeks in a public school before their exemption is nullified. So if you're going to let them try it, don't let them try it for longer than 3 weeks. Because it is compulsory attendance, you can have social services called on you if you do not have your exemption. That is something to take into consideration. And some people I've talked to have had social services called on them post home educating, so there's always that. And social services, if they are called on you and say you do have your exemption, what they can do is they can have you evaluated, which they can either have the social worker evaluate you, and the social worker can then decide, oh, they're just homeschooling, let them be, or the social worker can decide we need a deeper investigation, which means they will have your kids tested. They will want to look at all of your records. The rule of thumb here is to keep records for at least 3 years. A lot of people choose to keep it their child's entire education process. prove that your child, you basically put together a portfolio and you prove that your child has been homeschooling. You need to keep good records. There's a lot of online curriculum you can do that will keep records for you. So there's always that. You want to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed when you're here, because they consider homeschooling a privilege, not a right. There is also an online school that's available, that's online public school, but it's usually only available to the Maori or special circumstances. You can, there's another online curriculum you can use that's specific to New Zealand. That'll probably get you your exemption, but you have to pay to be part of it. Otherwise it doesn't count as school. And when they turn 16, they're allowed to do high school via correspondence. I haven't looked fully into the correspondence school for high schoolers because I don't even know that we're gonna be here by then. 1, and 2, I planned on enrolling them in an international online school because I want them to be able to go to a college anywhere, and I know a lot of places don't accept a New Zealand high school diploma, and New Zealand does not accept a homeschool diploma for university. So if you do plan on sending your child to university, or you want them to have the option of going, you're going to need to look at a possibility of either a GED, well, that's a US term, which is graduation exam. I don't remember what the full acronym GED, but it's the equivalent of a high school diploma. Yeah, there's a test for that the kids can go to, or they can do correspondence school, or they can do online high school, which is another option. A lot of kids pick that. We were gonna pick international online school, or if we go back to the States, dual enrollment. That's a whole other video if you want to know about that. I'm trying to just keep this specific to New Zealand. But yeah, really, that's the long and short of it. You want to make sure that you have to apply when you go to disenroll them. If you absolutely need them out right now, like they're being bullied too much, take them to a doctor and get that waiver. Some schools won't accept the waiver. Like one lady I know specific that I talked to, they didn't accept the doctor's note for their kids to stay home. It's really up to the head of the school whether or not they want to accept the doctor's note, because ultimately if you don't have your exemption, they can send somebody out to your house and tell you your child needs to be at school between these hours at this time. It's kind of a long and short of it. Some places are nicer than others. Only about, I want to say, a fifth, not even a fifth. It's like 5%. That's not, yeah. 5% of New Zealand kids homeschool. It's not as popular in New Zealand as it is a lot of other places. The school system is fairly okay here. We're still doing it because I want their education to have some continuity. I'll make a video on more why we want to do it. Continuing, we've also consulted the kids and that's what they want, so I don't want to do anything that the kids don't want to do. But ultimately, it's better for our family this way. But these are rules we're gonna have to follow because it is what it is. So, thank you guys for sticking with me. Again, please check out the other ladies in the collab. I'll leave their links in the description box below. Give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment as to if you homeschool, why you homeschool, where you homeschool. Because I know I have viewers around the world and I would love to know rules from there. And if you have any more questions, I would love to make a follow-up video to this if you want. Subscribe if you like the content, and please go check out those other channels. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.